Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you how Chris put this movie together. So hopefully this will kind of help you understand how to put yours together. And also I'll talk about the scripts that make this happen. So take a look at the example before you take a look at these movies. I think I'm going to make a couple different ones just to kind of help you out. But let's take a look at how he put the file together. And you can see it's just a real simple animation, but it is effective. I've requested that maybe you put a background in here, but other than that, this works really well for the final project. So let's take a look, and I want to show you that each thing that he has here has its own layer. Some layers are put into folders, which is going to help because he has some text throughout. He also has several buttons, and he also has some drawings. So you put those in separate folders, and you can do that through this menu down here. And you add a layer. We can create a new folder, or we can delete. Okay. I just want to kind of walk you through here, and to do that, I'm just going to turn off all the layers except the mouse. Yeah, there's the mouse right there. Now this mouse was either drawn in Illustrator, could have been created in Photoshop. Doesn't look like it because it just looks like lines, but it could also be done in Animate itself using the drawing tools. Okay, so that's kind of why we learned the drawing tools in Animate. And you'll see that basically the first sequence, and this is kind of how you want to think about it. You just want to think about it. Your movie is a long timeline. Okay, it starts here and it ends all the way down there. I think his is about 550 frames. But let's take a look at how he put it together. First thing he did is from his library, he dragged the mouse out onto the stage. Okay, uh, if you can find, let me see if I can find him real quick. Okay, there's a couple of different mice, and basically, once we put in a keyframe, then we can start adding symbols. Okay, just drag it out there, and basically what he did is just drag his mouse out there, put in a keyframe, drag his mouse out, and then did a tween, and you can kind of see how that's moving right there. That's just a classic or just regular tween. Okay, and then to make it, you can see that this first movement is moving this way. Okay, and then to make the mouse move the other way is he tweened it again. Okay, and the reason or the technique for that is just to insert a keyframe and then create another tween. Okay. All right, so you can kind of see that he has the mouse going back and forth pretty much through the whole movie, and that's fine. You can do it that way. There's other ways to do that, like making a symbol and creating a movie inside a movie, but for this class, this is fine. Okay, all right. The next thing you see that comes in, and this is a script, and I'll talk about that a little bit in sound in a minute, but you see the next thing that comes in is this arm. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So there's the arm. Basically, it's another symbol that he brought in. Created a keyframe, did a tween, it moves up, now it moves down, okay? Because you can't just tween it back and forth. You could, there is a way to do that. But for this class, this is an easy way to do it. Now, let's take a look at this movement right here. Goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, okay? Then at this point the arm pops in, goes up, goes down, okay? So you can kind of see how that works. Now all the way through the movie, the arm is doing that, and then at some point it disappears. You'll see right there. You can see that there's a keyframe where it says for it not to be there anymore, and then he just kind of tweens him walking across the stage at that point, okay? So that's a good way to do a character. All right, let's take a look at some of the other elements here. Okay, the first thing you'll see is the board, and that's the board right there, and it just lasts throughout the pretty much the whole movie. Okay, the next thing we see come in is this key right here in this text. Well, let's take a look in the text layer. You can see that he brought the text. Actually, there's some text back here. Here's the first line of text right here. Text 1, okay, and he just had it out there, and then this is an opacity tween from 100% to 0, okay, and this is another opacity tween, or actually the text just is out there at 100%, and then it stays out there for about 100 frames or so. And then he did another opacity tween using properties right there for both the text and the key. Okay, so if we look at the drawings here, you'll see that the key here and the text here fade out at the same time. Okay? Alright, now let's take a look at the next kind of sequence that happens. Okay? If we go further down the line here, okay, you can see that basically it keeps doing that same thing. Brings in an image, tweens it, brings in some text, brings in an image, tweens it, keeps it out on stage, and then makes it fade. Okay, and then you'll see, let me just kind of go through, I'll just scrub through here. Okay, then at this point you can see that the mouse disappears. Okay, there's a keyframe saying to stop it. Really, that's the best way to do it. And then we have an ending here, just with a black background, and then a script, and I'll talk about that here in a second. You can see that also down at the bottom there is some sound, and I'll talk about that here in a second. I'll do a separate video for that, as well as talk about the scripts in the next video. Okay, so this is the best way to do it, is just layer it. Just keep your objects out there until you need them by inserting a keyframe. Okay, like for instance, if I wanted the arm to be out there for starting here, then I'd go find it. Let's find the arm. I think it was up here somewhere. There's the arm. Now let's say that I wanted to start there instead. Okay, you can see that it's out there. I haven't put a tween in there, but that would be relatively easy to do now that I have my arm out there. Okay, you probably want to clean these up, so I'm just going to clear that keyframe. Okay, now all I'm doing is right clicking and inserting keyframes. Okay, also you can do the tweens here as well. Okay, doing a right click. Okay, all right, so that's a really good example of how to build your animation. So you might want to just build it all the way out. You can see his goes all the way out to 550 frames or so, 505, and then it ends, and then there's a stop here, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So I'm going to create a second video for the sound and the scripting. So stay tuned for that.